My name is Nuala Nolan and I was born in College Road, where you have the Huntsman now. And we had a little shop there ran by my parents, mostly my mother. And my father used to be always out the side digging or building an extra room. This is before planning permission was ever, he'd build, just said, we need another room. He'd build another room. So that's where, I think even maybe when I was a small child, we would have had cows, because I remember, you'd feed cattle with bags of pulp. And I remember picking that up because it's sweet, chewing it. That's a kind of a memory I have. But it was a cow shed out the back, where you have the Huntsman now, there's a cow shed out the back. My mother now, she'd be in the shop all day. And when time to make the dinner, then she'd call himself in. Yeah. And of course, when he'd be in the shop, he'd start talking to all his friends who come down, and they'd be chatting. And then he'd shout, "Ma'am, the shop is full, come in and give us a hand." And she'd be out making the dinner. But we sold everything from potatoes to paraffin oil. And I think, I remember when you'd be going to school, you'd hate, when you'd be doing your homework, and somebody come into the shop and they want a pint of oil or paraffin oil, and you'd have to go, the smell would be on your hands of the oil, or filling potatoes, a half stone of potatoes. But people got everything on the book. When they came in, it was written down, and they'd pay it off once a week and get the stuff for the following week. But then the supermarkets GTM came in downtown, and people went down when they had money. They went downtown, got their groceries, and came back up. Well, people would have gone down on the bus. So my father thought, this is the end of this, So that's why he decided that to sell out. My father, he worked on the railway, and on my birth certificate said that he was a steam driver. I think he was doing that for a while. He was shoveling in the coal. In the train. When he'd come home from work, he'd give out, if my mother didn't make them go over with the cattle over to along Lochatalia to graze the cattle in the summertime, because there would be good grass along the 40 acres, as they say, what do they call the long acre? Yeah. And they were my older sisters and brothers, and we delivered maybe milk in the summertime to around College Road, and Loyola Park a bit. So. And then, as well as that, used to deliver the papers as well to some of the shops, or not shops, the houses. But there was about 6 shops in College Road. If you go from where we were down to St. Patrick's Church, there was about 5 or 6 shops, and they were all run by women. There was a woman they called Beezy Barrett. She had a shop, she didn't like kids, so she'd run them. And then there was Mrs. Finnerty, who was a widow, and there was Mrs. McHugh, and then there was a Mrs. McDonough and a Mrs. Francis, and they all had, it was like that time they could put make a shop out of their front room. Yeah. They just clean out the sitting room and go and get some groceries down at McDonough's wholesale. McDonough's had a wholesale, and maybe Garavans, and they'd put stuff in the windows, bars and sweets, sweets and all that. Yeah. And then they had a shop. You see, there wouldn't have been planning permission that time. Yeah. So people were just, a lot of stuff isn't written down, because I think they weren't, PIY didn't come in that time, and people earned their money. Like a lot of the women in College Road would have kept B&B, did bed and breakfast during the races, and they'd or keep students. They had their own little ways, or there was 1 or 2 dressmakers. The people weren't just doing nothing. Yeah. There were, there was a lot of kids, because one of the families just down the far side of College Road where we were, there were 19 kids. Mrs. Quinn had 19 kids, and we'd be playing with them. Different, because there'd be somebody for every age. Yeah. So there were right teasers and good crack. And I know them all today. There's most of them are still alive and living around the town. One of them became a mayor of Galway. So, yeah, Martin. So, there was so many kids on the street, and even in Loyola Park, I think the Brady's, there might have been 11 or 14, I'm not which. But all these kids would be out playing on the streets, fighting and throwing stones at each other. Things they couldn't do now. And I hated school. So, but I loved when we came home, like you weren't really minded the way kids are minded today. You just, if it wasn't raining, you were outside. And if you were inside and it was fine outside, your mother said, get out of the house. But you wouldn't go far.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. I remember though one day we loved going for a walk, myself and my sister Annette. So we decided nobody, the older sisters used to mind us. My mother never, she was always in the shop. But we decided we'd learn how to, I don't know what age we were, we decided we'd learn how to go for a walk. So we headed out the road, out the Monavay Road now, and that would have been all fields at the time. There was nothing in where you have the G Hotel. There was nothing. That was Leonard's Field. And the other side, I think, where the community school is, that belonged to a man called Pac Hogan. And that was his field. So, and there'd be very little houses on that road until Merview was built. So we were heading out the road anyway, and this lady, I don't know what her first name was, but she worked in Woolworths. And she stopped us and asked us, she was on a bike, and she said, where are you going? And we said, we're learning how to go for a walk. So she took some ribbons she had out of her bag and gave them to us. And she said, go home now, So we went home. But we used to always want to go for a walk, because I suppose it's kind of like an adventure. We used to call the people from Castlegar country gawks because they were cycling in the road, We used to see the Connellys, the Connellys? Yeah. They lived out there, so they'd be cycling in. They'd be cycling into school, and some of them went to St. Mary's or something. It was a good long cycle, because there was very few cars on the road. There was, I think Mr. Glynn had a car, he was a bus driver, and then there was O'Brien's, and they had, and King's, they seemed to have lorries. Now, whether they were bringing gravel or different places. And the O'Brien's they moved out of the country, but they were into horses and ponies and that. I think one of them became a horse trainer. Valentine O'Brien became a horse trainer. They moved out to Turlockmore or somewhere like that. But, we were being around. Then, like, to go far, we never went very far. Like, you might go up around the sports ground now and again, but not that often, so you'd stay around. We always stayed around. Yeah. Until, like, in teenagers, then you were kind of wanted to go a little further.
Yeah.
So, but it was I'm kind of amazed now when I was away from Galway for about 20 years, and when you come back and you see no families, there's hardly a child under 10 in College Road. And the same maybe in most of Bohemore, except to go up the terraces. And the same in Woodkey, hardly a child. Eyre Street, Patrick's Avenue, there was big families all around. And I think that's like people might say, Galway looks great. But I think without families living in the centre, it loses its heart. You're just a tourist thing and a student thing. And there's no interest in the place only for an economic value. Well, I think I was just there. I think they came into the schools, and they'd examine the doctor and a nurse. They'd give you vaccinations and examine your eyes and your lungs and that. And they say I was short-sighted, and that time the glasses would be. That they call dispensary specs. Oh. So I never wore them. So I think I always seemed to be down the back of the class, and I don't think I could. I'd have to squint to see the board, and the numbers will be changing when it's going. So I never kind of, I have a photograph at home and I think it's me that's down the back and I'm looking like, what am I here for, like? But I don't, until I went to secondary school, I don't think I really kind of got involved in any way of what was going on in school. I was just there, waiting to go home. At one time, I remember waiting and, we get the money for the bus to go home at dinner and the nun, I think I dropped the money or something, so the nun took it off me and put it up on the window and she said, unless I asked in the right way for it, she wouldn't give it to me, and I think I kind of missed the bus home. But sometimes you'd spend the money on, you'd go into McDonald's and at home, on the way home and buy Clicks or whatever, you buy sweets with the money, if you, rather than take the bus. I don't remember, I think we would have been slapped, and I don't remember caning, but I think sometimes when somebody makes a remark, it's more hurtful, and I think you remember that. Like, because at home, when you're the second youngest of 8, there's always somebody giving you a belt for something. Get this, get that, and this, so that, I think it's the fact that it's a stranger maybe hits you. That's the thing, like if somebody, if your brother gives you a tip, like, you might try and give him one back, but, when a stranger kind of is physically, touches you like that or hits you, it's not nice. But I think sometimes, this is very funny, but this was a lay teacher once in secondary school. She's dead now. But this girl, she said to one girl one day, "You down there with the dispensary specs, why didn't your mother send you to tech?" The woman, that's why this woman, I don't think people took her to heart because she was, her character was, she had a certain character. I think people used to, but it was much easier in secondary school because there was a kind of greater camaraderie. You were kind of all in this together, and where I think in a national school, I think, well, for myself, I would have felt very isolated, where, you're kind of used to all your sisters and brothers, and then you're put in with people you don't really know that well. And where in secondary school, you were kind of more, you opened up a bit more with others, and you had different teachers for different subjects. Where in national school, I remember one teacher, I think I had her in second class, and for some reason she was moved to another class, and I was in that class as well, and then she was moved to 5th class. So I had this teacher that I didn't like at all. Very few people liked. And you'd have the teacher for the whole day. So if they had a certain, and they were sometimes inclined to be nicer to some kids than they would be to others. I think that kind of favoritism, especially kids who live fairly near the school, will know whether that's true or not. I've always felt that the kids from Wood Quay were treated better than other kids. Do you know? Well, maybe that's just my thinking, or maybe the people in Wood Quay would think, no, they weren't. We felt they were. But in the late 60s, early 70s, people usually got married at 18 to about 23. So if when you were moving on, you thought, gee, I better get out of here. When I did my Leaving Cert, I did a course in the tech of shorthand and typing. But I wasn't that good at that because I'm left-handed and I wasn't able to get any speed. So then I had a friend who worked in a betting office, and she it probably was winter time, but she didn't have to start that early, about 10 o'clock in the morning, and in the winter time finished at around 4. And because it was different them times, there was no computers or anything, and it wouldn't be much racing in the winter time. So So I thought, this is a great job. So I left the tech and then I went working in a betting office. Yeah. So I worked for one woman, I think it was Mrs. Moynihan, and I went with her for a while, and then I was working for Mrs. Gilmore. There was a place on the square. And after about a year or two, I was running a place she had in Henry Street, Yeah. And you'll be taking in the bets, making them up and paying out and taking the results over the antenna, putting them up on the board. There's no computerization then, but you'd have the fellas kind of checking out what you did. I should get more here. But anyway, then I thought, I had joined the Legion of Mary then, and the 5-day week came in. So then I was saying, for some places. So I went and I got a job in McDonough's in Merchants Road. These old cash desks where you put the money, the bills come in, you put the money up the chute and that. So I was doing that. And then it was Saturday off. There was a crowd, a few that were going away for the weekend and they were going to the Flag Hole in Ballyvaughan. And they were in the Legion of Mary. And so I thought, that's an adventure, So we went and we were went to the Flag Hole in Ballyvaughan. And we were out and we were in tents. And we met this group that were there in the Legion of Mary from Dublin. And they were a bit different to the people that were in the Legion of Mary in Galway. So the main person there was Kevin Jacobson. He was a Danish man, a convert. And I think he had been in Galway, but then he had moved to Dublin. And he had started a branch of the Legion of Mary in his house. But they were different to the others in the sense that the Legion of Mary only gave 2 hours. You give 2 hours doing some sort of charitable work. Yeah. So he had the group he had started. They were going out on the street talking to people nearly 4 or 5 nights a week and at the weekend. And most of them there wouldn't have been people that would have joined the Legion of Mary. Some of them had motorbikes and they had, beards and there was, women as well. So anyway, when they came to Galway, then I kind of, we were out on the street talking to people the same. I joined them, and then when they were going, then they were saying, well, about me joining them. So I kind of gone up to Dublin and joined them. So I kind of said, I couldn't ask my father blow a gasket, so I decided I'd take off. I told this man that I was in the Legion of Mary, to Jerry Morden. I said, well, I'm thinking of joining them. No, he said, they're great, they do great work. So I said, will you tell them that I'm gone? So they had about 3 or 4 motorbikes, and they're gone back. So they were heading towards, I think it was Ballybunion or the Listowel. So anyway, I took off, I think next morning, and the back of a motorbike and went off. So we were in Listowel and then in Ballybunion, and they had kind of tents, so we were, then they went back over to Tramore, I think, as well, and then up to Dublin. So when I was in Dublin, then I decided, I was in a flat with some of these people, so I had to get a job. Yeah. So I got a job for a while in the Golden Pages in I think it's St. Martin's Road in Dublin, So, and then we used to go out on the street talking to people. And eventually then, I think the Legion of Mary, they weren't that happy that people weren't supposed to be doing this amount of work. We're only supposed to do 2 hours, and he felt that that pressure shouldn't be there for anyone to do any more. So, and it happened then that they'd go full-time. A certain amount of us would go full-time. So then we were, he got this van, and he made it in such a way, it was a big Hummer van, that you could lay down kind of sheets of plywood or something, strong plywood, so they could lay them down at night. So there was about 3 or 4 or 5 was women. So we slept down in that part of it, and he built a kind of a thing for over the top, where the two lads, they slept in that. So we used to live in that, and then, he himself had a family, so he was living in a house in Walkinstown, so that's how we would go in and wash ourselves in the house and that. Yeah. But so then they decided they moved to Cork then, and then from Cork then they went to the Aran Islands, so in Sheer, because Kevin was kind of feeling that the day of going out on the street was a thing of the past. So he was kind of moving towards monastic kind of a thing. So we were in Inisheer for about 2 years. I think then he decided that we'd wear a cowl, like monks. Yeah. And so every time there was a change, there was always changes happening. So you'd be kicking up against the change. And I suppose a lot of times I wanted to leave. And because I didn't really like, and then we were getting up at night as well. So, and you only ate what you were given, so you wouldn't be eating that much. And then we built a 40-foot extension onto the place in Inisheer, so we were very, very hungry. Because you'd be foodless. Like there was this other guy and we were kind of friends, so we used to go visiting, because when we get hungry we go visiting the locals. So one family now, they knew we were hungry, so they put down a plate of biscuits and a cake and homemade bread. So we got fed, but then that was kind of knocked on the head, because somebody said, well, you can't be going visiting just for, get fed. It was kind of crazy, really. This fella joined us he was from Blackrock, and I think his father was an architect. So he was used to the ready-made, put in the fridge food, His parents were working probably. So he was very picky when he joined, in Inisheer, and he wouldn't eat this and he wouldn't eat that. He never washed the clothes in his life, or did anything like that. Yeah. So I think after about a month, I'd say if a pea fell on the ground, he'd pick it up and he'd eat anything. And he had to take a day off. We worked every day except Sunday, and we'd go for walks around the island. But I think he had so much clothes that he had to wash, that he had to take a day off to wash his clothes. Because at that time you had to go, in Inisheer at the time in the 70s, the middle 70s, the running water only came on when the generator came on at night. That's when you got the electricity. So, you'd have to go around to the back of the island to get water, if you wanted water during the day to wash your clothes or that. They decided to move to Spiddle then, so I took off when they came into Galway, because we had our head shaved when we were there, So I kind of thought, oh, gee, when you're from Galway and you're going back, you're afraid you meet people you knew. I met a girl I went to school with on the Minivania, and I was chatting to her, and then I was, oh, gee. So I took off home. And when my parents weren't at home, but my brother was there, and so he was going back up to Athlone or Mota, and so I went with him, and then I decided I'd go to Dublin and get a job. So I think I knew then I couldn't kind of get an ordinary job of my hair, the way his head was. So I got a job living in then minding kids. Because, you know, you have a place to stay and all the rest. So I did a few different jobs. Went for a job then I was doing... that time, you see, in order to do got a job in a nursing home. You once said, well, I have two jobs. You can do nurse's aid or you can do the cleaning. So I decided, well, if I do the nurse's aid, you're working a long day. You get time off in between, but that time you'd have to be working till 8 o'clock. So that didn't suit me. So I said, I'll do the cleaning. So I was doing the cleaning. So then another girl then left, and the two of us then decided we left them jobs and we were out of work. So then we were still in touch with the group, and Kevin said, well, when you're out of a job, you're supposed to 8 hours a day looking for a job. So myself and Claire then decided, well, we weren't going to do 8 hours a day looking for a job, but we went around to all the different industrial estates in Dublin, and eventually we got a job. We got a job grading potatoes out around the Long Mile Road on the Red Cow. You know, the Red Cow. Yeah. So then we were doing that for 6 months now. That was a tough old job because you were standing up watching potatoes going by. Uh-huh. Picking out the small ones and the ones that had got frost. But one of the jobs that we had, places that we had went to Electron and Tella, they wrote, and we got 2 jobs there. So we were working there for a while. But eventually I ended up going back. I think I was kind of a bit at sea. So when I came back, the group had bought a boat. They went to England and I bought the Whitby Light because Kevin was working on a long line fishing system. So he had the boat in the docks that he had brought over from Whitby. And he decided then, well, because he had relations in the Faroes, decided that we'd head up to the Faroes. So about 11 or 12 of us were in the boat, and most of us were sick all the way up. We were up to the Faroes. But I think the Faroes at the time, it was kind of, they were really into the fishing and they were very well off. Like it was only small, like Torsan was only a small place, but they'd be going around, driving around and all in the evenings and big cars and everything. But they had a few different religions there. There were a lot of kind of born again, not Christians, but different types of Christians, different types of groups. So anyway, and I think the Catholic priest that was up there was very suspicious of us because where did we come from? What were we doing? Why were we wouldn't have been the regular order. Yeah. So, and we were men and women. What are we doing here? So Kevin sent the 3 of us then down to, we went from the Faroes on the ferry down to Esbjerg in Denmark. So we kind of hitched then from Denmark to Copenhagen because there was some of the group were in Copenhagen. So yeah, it was, I think the others then decided then they moved to Dublin again. So we got a job. We were cleaning, a few of us were cleaning in Copenhagen, and then we went out on the street during the day talking to people. Now, our Danish wasn't great, but they kind of had a rule that if when it came to after 3 months you weren't to speak English anymore. So in that way we learned Danish. But our Danish would have been learned from each other. Now, wouldn't have been? I suppose it was some were better than others at it. So anyway, I think after about 2 or 3 years there, the bishop then there, kind of like he was kind of saying, a Catholic bishop. There isn't very many Catholics in Denmark, just very few. and there'd be a kind of a stricter version than here. Kind of, I thought, maybe because it's more Lutheran church, those Catholics would have been more different than us. Do you know, the kind of Irish Catholics, even though we're always giving out, it's more or less people take what they want. Where, you know, there'd be more stricter Catholic, and a Danish Catholic would be more committed. And so he kind of said, like, you shouldn't be wearing this cowl, you shouldn't be dressed the way you are because, you know, you have no recognition. So, and if we were to stay, they'd have to give up wearing the cowl, or we wore a veil sometimes. So anyway, we ended up back in Dublin again. And then Kevin decided, well, to move to Roundstone. So, and he'd be working on the long line fishing system. You know, it was kind of automatic. So then people worked on most of the people would have worked in the workshop, and they started making braided cord, and then men and women, it was about, say, 13 or 14 of us in it, and people would have been doing every job. You know, they'd be doing welding. The girls would be welding, and one of the girls was able to fix it. We had a JCB, so she'd be able to drive it and fix it. And it wasn't kind of that kind of thing. Like, you know, when people talk about feminism, it doesn't, because when we were in the group, like, it was a mixed group, and there'd be different people in charge at different times. So you weren't kind of, this kind of one against the other. Oh, you know, this feminist thing that's is kind of divisive. That wasn't there. We were kind of like, some jobs physically a woman couldn't do. And so you wouldn't be asked to do something that was, even though we'd be helping mixing cement and all the rest, but you wouldn't be doing other type. Like I was then put over the cows and the calves. Because somebody had left that was milking cow. So I was saying, well, what do I know about them? Like, but I think I automatically, because maybe my father was a farmer, I just took to it. Yeah. So I think that was the job that I liked most. I kind of got very attached to them. I was like, do you know that woman in England, Hannah? She lived up in the Yorkshire Dales.
Yeah.
I forget her second name, but she had names on all the cows and that. I used to have names on all the cows, and then I would be, out digging drains, and I'd get help with milk, time with the milking cows, and then saving the hay, buying hay. So I think someone in the group was saying that I was spoiling the cows because I'd make sure that they had plenty of hay and make sure that everything was right for them and the calves. So, and you'd be digging the drains. So I was kind of a bit doing my own thing.
Yeah.
More than others that would have been in the workshop, you know. Sometimes you would be put on the kitchen, but I wasn't a great person for the kitchen. And be doing different jobs and painting the outside of the house. It was a fairly big house that we had out there, and it just led onto the beach. So in the summertime we go down, you could take time off when you wanted to go down for a swim or that. So then they decided then, well, we should really be near a more built-up place. So they decided to move from there to Wicklow town. And I didn't like that at all, because I didn't like having to sell my cows, get rid of them, So when they went to Wicklow, then I didn't settle at all. And I was put doing the kitchen. So then I said to Kevin, well, maybe somebody else should do the kitchen because I'm no interest in it. He said, well, we don't really have any other job for you at the moment. So it's God's will that you do this. And I was thinking, well, why would God put me doing something had no interest, when others had more of an interest in it? Because they were heading towards more raw food and more sprouting beans and peas or whatever. So and then somebody'd say there's too much salt in this, or there's too much sugar in that. So that didn't suit me at all. So anyway, I took off one day, and then I went down to my sister in Cork, and she said, well, you'd want to do something with that hair. And I had the cowl on me, and so then the clothes that we wore. So I thought, well, if I go to the hairdresser with these clothes on me, it'll give me a very funny hairdo. So I took off the cowl and put, I had ordinary clothes. So then I kind of said, I'm not going back. So I came back to Galway. And all the family were married. So it kind of had to decide. Somebody gave me the advice, well, what you do now is go and get a rent allowance and sign on. And then I got onto a FOSS course. And from there, I got, I did in between then, I got a job for about 6 months in a riding school in Kildare, working out stables. But that was very tough. It was live-in, but it was very tough. After doing the FOSS course, then I got a job in Royal Tara, hand painting, and then I was decorating as well. But the money there was just chicken over money, I wouldn't go far in it. So then I decided I'd go for Boston Scientific. So I worked there for about 12 years. But the money doubled immediately. And tried to get back into ordinary life then. And because I wouldn't have had money, you wouldn't be getting bills, or you wouldn't have. So you're kind of trying to adjust. And in the beginning, then when you get your money, you'd be kind of buying CDs or buying books and you kind of have to say, I have to kind of learn to budget. Yeah. So, and then the social life had changed an awful lot. When I used to go, I went dancing an awful lot before I left, maybe out Sawtell and Sea Point and all those places, and Oslo, and Saturday nights go to Galwegians Rugby Club, Denina. They used to have dances out there, or, parties out there. And certain places you could go on your own, which was great. Like you'd meet people and you'd be chatting to people. Then that kind of changed again then, because suddenly the pubs became, I think in the last, say, decade or so or more, they've changed towards specific age groups. Like if you're over 35, there's no point in you going to, say, Barraholla during the week. I hope the Barrahollas don't think about that, but, a lot of and then the no smoking and the drink driving, a lot of the people, that you'd be like chatting to. I suppose maybe because I lived out in the country area for a while, you'd love talking to people about farming and things like that, and they all stopped coming in to the city. Like if you were going to the Pucon, they wouldn't be there much anymore, right? Because they'd be drink driving. It kind of put it. I don't know if it's a good thing, but that's the way things changed, because you've become a kind of a tourist student town, and it's not what I would call a livable town for all age groups anymore. Yeah. It's all geared towards the economics and all geared towards tourism and students. Yeah. So, and then they're all trying to, like, I don't know if you want to be a viable city, you have to cater for families. Like all the families now are gone out to the county. Ordenmore, Barna, Mike Holland, all Loughrea, all people have moved out, families have moved out. And I don't think that's a positive thing. Maybe other people would say that's wrong, but I think it's not a positive thing because kids have to be driven to school. You have to put buses on where we all walked. And you have new, huge estates, and you should have schools in the new estates. Like you have Roscommon, it's a huge area, and yet it has no national school. They have to go all the way up the other side, which you either have to get a bus or you have to drive them up. You wouldn't have them walking across these junctions. So that has made me very political. So I joined the Labour Party and I was there for a while. And then 2009, then I decided, well, I'll try and run. There's 2 people on the East Ward, 2 men. So I decided, well, the gender balance, well, that was my excuse anyway. I'd put my name on the ticket and they couldn't really not have me on the ticket. Not that I hadn't a chance anyway, and I think they knew I hadn't a chance, but they'd be always afraid that you would split the vote. No, but anyway, I ran, I didn't get anywhere. So then, I think it was 2011, Derek Nolan then got elected to the Dáil. So they had to have a selection convention to replace somebody on the council for his seat, So that's how I happened to get on. I think I'm the only monk that was ever on the city council, or I has been monk. So I was on the council for about 3 years. But half the time I didn't know exactly what was happening. It's a lot more complicated than you think, because it's to do with the laws and whatever. So then I ran in 2014, but I didn't get elected. So, but it was always on the East Ward. I didn't know people. All the news, I wouldn't have known people. And there was people there that are there forever, like Terry Flaherty and Declan MacDonald, and they're stalwarts, they're there. So then I decided, well, I'll go, and I decided I'd go back, and I did a diploma in community practice. And you learn a lot by these things. And then I decided I'd go on and do a degree. So I was retired at this stage, so I got a degree in public and social policy. So I understand a lot more now. But at the same time, I think it's frustrating because, I go back to Copenhagen every now and again and I see how they do things, and they do them so easy and they work out for the benefit of the people. Here, I think a lot of the decisions are made by bodies that are centralised and they don't understand the city. And they have plans for the city that even looking at them, I cannot see how they work. And the councillors only get to vote to say yes or no. That's all. And they're often pressurised to. I can sympathise with them because their powers, there was a 2014 Local Government Act that took an awful lot of their powers away and gave the power to the city manager as an executive. He's now a CEO, or she is a CEO, which, in order to get any money, they have to go through central government. The rates are taken through revenue, and they don't go to the city council immediately. They have to more or less be begging for them. So I I'm still very political, though I wouldn't see myself running again, because I kind of see how frustrated it must be.
If you could go back in time and give a young, small Nuala one piece of advice, what would that be?
Not to face things, and not to run away. To kind of say, when I went away from home to face and say to my parents, I'm leaving. This is what I want to do. Maybe I wouldn't have left if I did. I don't think I would, but a few times that I've took off. I think I should have handled that better because you hurt other people and you kind of disappoint people. I suppose, now whether I would have, young Nuala would have been able to handle that, I don't know. But I think it's important when you make changes in life that you just don't go cold turkey, that you try to ease your way into something, because if you do things that other people, you can hurt other people because they don't know what is happening. And at least if you had the argument out with them or something, it would be better than just taking off. Which I have done a few times. So I think that's what I would say.